Hey everybody, what is going on? Y'all, man, oh man. It's beginning the Coaching International Week or Coaching International Coach Week, however you say it. Y'all, we're here with another hot takes where we're always seeking to be humble, open, and transparent. And so, y'all, I brought with me a coach. I brought with me somebody who is going to talk to you all about the good stuff that coaches talk about, to include branding, business, and all those other good things. Y'all, I have Coach Jamila with me today. How's it going, Coach?
I'm good. How are you, Lawrence?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. And so, just before we get going with today's topic, I want you to tell people where you are in the world, and tell them all about that Alabama accent that you have, and then we'll go from there.
He says Alabama. Okay, so hi everyone on the Hot Takes podcast. My name is Jamila Bannister, and I'm a personal branding strategist and coach from Trinidad and Tobago. So not quite south of the United States, but south of the Caribbean. So that's where I am, still south.
I love it. I love it. And so, as we think about just this not just coaching week, but the modality and business career field of business coaching, marketing, and all the rest of those things, why was this work for you?
Well, it's so funny because when first started in the area of personal branding and coaching development, it really was because I was in a space where I wanted an opportunity to take what I had and turn it into something that was useful for other people. Because I was in that space where the job market was difficult. I had all of these academic skills, going to school, and I have all these degrees, but it was very difficult for me to turn that into anything more than just a whole bunch of paper and a whole bunch of letters after my name. And so I said to myself, I say, how smart are you if you can't take all of this money you invested in education and turn it into something useful? So at that point, I started on my own journey to come to a place where I needed to understand how exactly am I going to use what I have to turn it into value for others. And that journey actually saw me take my previous experience in the field of marketing and branding and communications and turn it into personal branding, because if you can do it for a company or brand, you can more than do it for yourself and market yourself and put yourself out there. But I recognize that there were quite a few people who were also in the space that I was in, professionals who may have either left their jobs or was put off from their jobs. So either voluntarily or, you were forced out in any particular way. And they now had to find a way to make things work. Right. So they would have invested a whole bunch of time and energy into themselves. And now they're in a space where, all right, well, this is no longer for me. But how do I make all of this knowledge work, all of this passion that I have work outside of the context of somebody hiring me? So, what for me was the biggest driver and continues to be the biggest driver is teaching people how to achieve their fullest potential and how to take charge of their own journey and destiny, and not feel powerless, because I felt very powerless when I recognized that I had to wait on somebody to hire me. It's a very strange position for to be in, especially if you're somebody who's used to like moving and shaking and getting things done, and all of a sudden you have been halted because somebody isn't telling you to do that thing. Right. So I wanted to shift from somebody telling me, well, I want this and I want you to execute it, to saying, well, you know what, I want this for my legacy and I want this for my future. And this is the way I'm going to build and construct this thing so that I could tell other people, well, come and help me do this. So it's shifting the power dynamic from the hands of somebody else, validating you and validating your expertise and validating your experience. So you taking charge of that and now creating value for others so that they can actually help themselves. So I just took what I knew and shaped it into something for other people to benefit.
Yeah, and what I like about that is you, again, there was a process, and what I believe that you had to sit yourself down and say, what do I want? And then you talked about legacy, right? And that little short snippet that you just threw out there is like it was packed full of things that you had to begin the process for yourself. And we called today's episode, as you were talking about, mind games. and the
Yeah.
things that you could begin and the stories you could begin to tell yourself when you're in a good headspace or not. And so when you think about just as your journey led you up to this moment, and again choosing this purpose for work, what was it, or what types of mind games did you have to overcome or process through to get you to this point to where you could share with others?
Well, the mind games are there, and some of them sometimes they still show up. So definitely, feeling that imposter syndrome was a huge one. Feeling as though, okay, I don't have any major, enormous individual successes under my belt. How exactly am I going to tell people I can help them do this? So that was definitely one thing. And I also had to get to the point, and especially for those professional entrepreneurs, and that's the group of people I tend to focus on. When we are used to being in a space of going, 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 and then all of a sudden we're not going, it's difficult to kind of reconcile where our value comes from, and it's difficult for us to take into consideration that we may need to start over, start from the bottom, and it's just taking down that ego is also a big mind game that we have to come to terms with, because in the back of my mind I'm like, I have always been viewed myself as, or been in a position to be a highly valuable asset to a team, but now I'm in a space where it's almost like difficult for me to communicate just where that value really is or where it came from. So I had, in some senses, sometimes we have to get out of our own way and to become a student again of a lot of things, so that we know if we have to start in a particular direction, because it's very different being a professional in an environment of a company where the tone and the structure is set for you, to now you having to do it yourself and to build that structure yourself. It's very humbling when you realize that, whoa, I really don't know what I'm doing. I thought I knew. I thought I was this maverick or whatever. You may very well be a professional in your space, but sometimes to build that machine, to build that system, it will show you just how much you don't know. So ego, definitely one. Sometimes we have to deal with entitlement, and we think that we are entitled to this or that, the other, because we're so professional. And certainly when you get into the depths of the thing and you realize, okay, I need to know a lot more, a little bit of imposter syndrome. So some of those things came up, some of those things I've overcome, and I'm like, yeah, I'm okay being a student again. But sometimes, especially when you're taking steps to the next level to improve, you want a bigger client, and a bigger client, the imposter syndrome kind of comes in. But I've gotten to a place where I can manage it, so that's good.
Well, and there's something in that where you begin to talk about, just again lining up and then identifying where you are. But and you talk
Mhm.
about there comes a point where you need to build systems around accountability. And so talk a little bit about what you mean by systems of accountability.
Well, what I mean by systems of accountability is essentially creating an environment that puts you in the best position to succeed. So, some of the simplest things are the things that keep us back. It's not that we don't know, it's not that we aren't professionals, it's not that we haven't lived and done the experience, but sometimes it's because we procrastinate, or it's because we put things off, or because we anticipate that things will be difficult or hard, or it's because we're afraid of failure, that we don't attempt to do things, and we don't attempt to get things past the point where we feel comfortable. So as a result of that, we tend not to push past certain insecurities or things that we may deem uncomfortable or painful. But when I talk about building a system of accountability, I mean create an environment that allows people, systems, tools to always remind you you need to get things done. Right. And it also means that you have to work on yourself and talk to yourself to a lot. The self talk has to be different. So it has to be that, what, regardless of what goes on, I need to wake up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. Or I have an accountability partner who's going to check in to say what's going on with XYZ project. Or I need to work with a schedule to keep my appointments on time so that I don't show up late for things, or I don't forget things. And even if I do forget things, I do have a system to remind me that, okay, so this is your deadline for XYZ thing. It means working with measurable goals. goals so that you're not just saying, well, I want to accomplish, I know I want to get new customers, right? Or I want to get new followers on my LinkedIn or whatever the case may be, or my new subscribers to my channel, but there's no real system for that to happen. So you're not saying, well, I want to get 10 new followers this month or 10 new subscribers. And what is the actual system to get that done? Are you talking to new people? Are you putting out more content? What exactly is that happening? So systems of accountability mean that you need to create milestones for yourself. You need to have people in your process, and you need to use tools to continue to almost like, stick you. I mean, the human nature is such that, we have to feel a little bit of guilt. I was like, oh my God, I'm feeling so badly about this. I have to get this done. That's just human nature. If we left up to our own devices, more than likely we just won't get things done, or we'll do it on our own sweet time. And that doesn't really work when you're trying to, accomplish a goal. So that's what I mean by systems of accountability.
Yeah, and thank you so much for putting that last little bit of humble openness and transparency on there, because there's something to when you talk about systems of accountability, there's an intention set behind, hey, I'm going to make sure that as a part of my process, things are in place to help
Mhm.
me follow through with the things that I said that I'm going to do, things that I said I'm going to make sure are a part of my brand and my business, because those things become a part of the story people tell about as they experience you, of what do you look like when you're in your element, being accountable to excellence and all the rest of those things. And so, no, I appreciate you throwing that little light, because again, yeah, you're right. Some days we wake up like running 100 miles an hour and we're checking everything's off, and everything's going well. But then in those days, you're like, man, I ain't here for it.
Yes,
Right. But there's
exactly.
something to this thing about vulnerability and transparency, and you call it a secret sauce to authentic relationship in business. Tell me a little bit more about this vulnerability and transparency, because some folks think those are cuss words.
Well, okay. So in the line of developing a brand, remember branding, and particularly personal branding, the basis of that is communication. And in order for you to build any type of relationship with somebody or an audience or a group or whatever the case may be, people have to see all parts of you. It doesn't mean that they have to see every single piece of dirty laundry, but they need to know the edges, and they need to know the hills and the valleys that would have brought you to where you are, because anything worth its weight in gold most times is forged by fire, right? We have to have some of that inside of our system. Anybody who is tough, anybody who has as we say, a broad back for work, and anybody who could really teach you things and in an impactful way should be able to, not even should be able, it is advisable that you build a relationship that allows you to be transparent and allows you to be vulnerable. Nobody lives a life where everything goes perfectly 100% of the time. No, that is to expect that is insane. And to create a persona that seems to put that forward could get you into a zone where people think you are disingenuous, and people almost think that this your lifestyle cannot be real, or you cannot be real, and where you've gotten cannot be real. So at no point in time have you ever gotten any challenge, difficulty. And if that is in fact the case, how good are you really? If everything, every circumstance has been perfect for you to succeed, how good are you really? Because you haven't been able to measure your performance against times where you're really required to push past all of the things that may be attempting to hold you back, or all of the things that may be attempting to get in your way, and develop systems and strategies to be able to work around, work with, work through those things, right? Because you wouldn't be saved at every juncture. You wouldn't have an advantage at every juncture. And you many times, the odds may be stacked against you. And more often than not, Murphy shows up. Murphy shows up to interfere with your process. So if you um create a persona, or you communicate with your audience that everything is always hunky-dory all the time, it comes off as very disingenuous and fake, because most people would see that and be almost, at least the real people who really want to get to know you, they may see that and wonder, this is a little confusing. It's almost like, when we look at people's social media, we look at their Instagram and we see their highlight reel. There's so many things happening behind those images or behind those videos. So it's really important that we understand that that vulnerability allows us to become closer with our audience, building an even stronger relationship with them that allows them to see us as more relatable, as more human, and therefore it, the loyalty is a lot stronger. So when it comes to even selling them anything, it becomes that much easier because they understand what you have been through to be able to accomplish that. They understand that those are the things that qualify you to talk to them about the things you talk to them about. Other than that, people are like, I don't know how genuine or real this person is, how authentic they are. So then they're certainly not cuss words. They certainly are not, but they are very important points of strategy when it comes to crafting your communication to build trust and loyalty with your audience, for sure.
Yeah. So, and again, it goes to those simple things, particularly around business and all the rest of those. Like, again, people need to buy you before they buy from you, and it goes back to
Absolutely.
know, like, and trust, and all of those things that people make T-shirts out of and wall posters. But it's one thing to live it, for it to be a part of a business value, but as a part of the brand in the way that people describe when they interact with you. And there's something to be said around practicing that so that it doesn't feel disingenuous or off-putting, as you were alluding to say, hey, am I just doing this for the gram? Am I just doing
Mhm.
this for a post or some vanity metrics, if you will, posting a video or different things like that? But that gets into something that you one of the biggest, you call it one of the biggest injustices you can commit against yourself is lying to yourself about where you are and what you have going on. Can you dig a little deeper into to where that comes from as it pertains to injustice to yourself?
Oh, an injustice. Yeah, sure. Okay, so when I refer to it as an injustice, and it may seem a little bit melodramatic, but the reality is that it is in fact quite an injustice to yourself and to your brand when you lie to yourself, right? So um you have to be honest about who you are, where you are at, and what you need to do to take yourself to the next level. The worst thing is to put yourself out there as somebody that you are not, or keep telling yourself that, you are this great, amazing specimen of a person. When in fact you have a lot of work to do, right? You have a lot of things to come to terms with. And and I, and I, I bring that back to a lot of lack of self awareness. And there's some people who are willfully ignorant about the things that they have going on with themselves, right? They're willfully ignorant. And what that does is that really interferes with your transparency and your authenticity. So, because when you lie to yourself, I mean, the only person that you're hurting is you, because I can guarantee you that as long as people are paying attention, they would recognize that this person is a little bit, a one screw short of being 100% functional. So they may get confused. And when you do that, you are almost like the emperor with no clothes. I don't know if people know that story. The emperor with no clothes, right? Everybody can see that there's an issue except for you. And I bring that back to really being self-aware and to really being engaged and in tune with yourself. And in line with my work, personal branding, self-awareness is critical, absolutely critical when it comes to building a brand, because you have to know who you are before you take what you have and fashion it into something that's valuable for other people. If you're not sure who you are, how exactly you're going to talk to people, what exactly you're going to connect with people, on what basis, right? Or if you craft some sort of insane story, it becomes really hard to keep up with that. So you've got to be honest with yourself, especially if you want to grow, you want to get past a certain point. There are people, the definition of insanity according to Einstein is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But there are people who will sit and they will be convinced that they are doing everything that's correct. But I say you can never get the wrong result with the right systems and strategies. It just doesn't make any sense. So you definitely do yourself an injustice when you lie to yourself and just don't be honest with the things that you're not doing. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and again, all of these anecdotes and these innuendos and all those things that we've carried over the years. Again, that definition of insanity, and I love the call out there that you made before you went to that next point is, hey, it's one thing if you've tapped into creating a good habit,
Yeah.
but are you really, what was the measure that that was right for you and it was healthy for the brand and the business that you're trying to portray to the world? And if
Yeah.
you're the person that something is going wrong, but you keep telling yourself this lie that, oh, things are peachy, things are
Yeah.
all good, right?
Yeah.
Then you're not actually supporting anyone well, by continuing to perpetuate a lie. And I think that part of it, that's the insanity, is, hey, get off the crazy train when it comes to, hey, like, how do you believe that's going right? You're not making any money. You have zero clients, but you've been doing that for how long now? Right?
Yeah.
And and I'm like, oh, I'm just getting started for the past 10 years. I'm
Yeah.
just getting started for the past 10 years. And so when you think about just the capacity that it takes to do life and do business well as it pertains to up in someone's mindset, what do you really say to everybody having the potential to be extremely influential and powerful, in their own right?
Well, naturally, I think everybody has the potential to be extremely influential, right? I think it's the capacity is within all of us. The difference will be made um, based on who is disciplined enough to get it done. Because there are some people who just are not interested in putting in the work. And it takes work, right? There's no shortcut to this thing. Just like any relationship that you are building, you're not going to have a best friend by meeting somebody for like 1 week or 2 weeks, right? It takes years and years of investment in that person, really getting to see who they are in good times and bad times when the things don't go well, when they become vulnerable and you see the most you see their transparency, you understand, okay, this is who this person is. Um, uh, you have, okay, I lost track of the question. I lost track of the question. Can you remind me what it
Yeah,
is?
no, yeah. Just how do you help people kind of nurture this
Right.
influential space that they have it within them to be
Right. Okay.
this
Okay.
entity?
Okay. Me talking too much. Anyway,
It's all good.
so it really is. It really is helping people drill down on um what is the thing that they love and what is the thing that they do better than anybody else, right? And really having that and owning that and being good with that, but also understanding that people aren't just going to see that and believe that. You actually have to build that relationship. There's a bridge that needs to be built between yourself and the audience that you are engaging with, so that group of people changes from just being an audience into being a tribe, into being an army, into being people who support you and continue to endorse and then evangelize on your behalf, right? So it's really important that you get clear on your message, get clear on your voice. Do you want to connect with people on the basis of um, being somebody who's funny? Do you want to get connect with people on the basis of being somebody who is highly informative and intelligent and you teach people things? What is the voice that you're heading out there with? And even if you feel like you have no voice, because a lot of like sometimes I come across people who may be introverts and they may be like afraid to kind of speak publicly, and in their mind, this personal branding thing is not for them. And I mean, nothing could be further from the truth, because voice has a lot more to do with you establishing your space. You are here, you are present, and you have value to add. How exactly are you going to use the voice that you do have to connect with the people that you would like to reach? So it's really important that you take ownership of those things and understand that this is a long game. Branding is a long game. Take the scenic route and develop the relationships, and you should be good to go.
Yeah, I like particularly that call out, right? Because again, again, I jest, right, when it comes to, how long it'll take. Like, nobody has a, magic 8 ball to say when you'll hit. But one thing that I love what my sister from another Mr. Melissa, Coach Mel, said, a couple episodes ago, was really around your clients will find your voice. But
Yeah.
it's what you just said there in that call out is, hey, people have to know where they can find you, and you
Yeah.
have to exercise that voice. And so as long as you're putting out content and information that is meaningful to the people you're intending to serve, then they'll find you. You just have to make yourself available, for that connection. And so
Yeah.
Coach, I thank you so much for just coming to hang out for this little snippet of time. But
No
I know
problem.
I want your clients to find your voice. I want them to find you. So how can people connect with you? How can they follow your content and all of that good stuff?
Oh, for
Oh,
sure. So you
sure.
can
So you
connect
can
with
connect
me
with me.
on LinkedIn, right? By searching Jamila Bannister, Jamila Bannister with two N's. I'm also on Clubhouse every Thursday at 7 a.m. in a room called Any Digital Thinkers Club. So that's search for the club. We have this room every morning at 7 a.m. EST. So I give good advice on branding and personal brand development. And feel free to connect with me on Instagram as well, JB Branding. And that should be good to go. You can find me anywhere else. Want to connect with me in those places.
All right. Thank you so much, Coach. And again, y'all, we had as you saw, these are always humble, open, and transparent conversations because you never know what's going to happen on one of these episodes because we are live. And so if you're watching a replay, hashtag replay. And also if you're another coach out there who is seeking to share the space with me and you want to tell people all about why and how you are a practitioner of your purpose, I would love to have a conversation with you. Please direct message me and we will get you set up for a hot episode. Well, until next time, folks, continue to be well, continue to be kind to each other, and we will see you all later.
Take care.